Okay, thank you for joining us today. I'm very excited to present this program. This is a program that I developed this last fall and presented at the conference in Louisville, and I'm excited to be able to share this with you. Just a brief background. This has been very an interesting subject for my business partner who runs operations. Didn't really like this title when I came up with this 4 or 5 years ago for my explanation of why service is so critical. We have to do a great job at landscaping, but landscaping alone is less than half the story. People assume and expect us to do a great job with our landscaping work. What really impresses people is when we do a great job with serving their needs. Very few of our customers, their landscape is not their first priority. They're usually businesses or it's their home, and they're wanting to make sure that it's a comfortable and desirable place to attract customers and tenants or live in. So they're not necessarily horticulturalists that want us to do great horticultural work. They want us to serve their needs. A little bit of background on myself. I own Pacific Landscape Management. We founded 17 years ago in Portland, Oregon. Prior to that, I spent about 15 years working for another prominent commercial landscape maintenance contractor. We currently have 3 offices serving the Portland metropolitan area, about 250 employees in peak season, and do about $15 million worth of work in commercial maintenance and enhancements. So what I want to talk today is the importance of service in our business. As I said, we are landscape contractors and we focus on horticultural services, building things, maintaining things, but really we need to make sure that we're also thinking about, as we go throughout our day, of how important service is. I've got some statistics that I've dug up here. Harris Interactive did a survey that said 88% of consumers prefer dealing with companies with strong customer service rather than one of the hottest, most innovative products. So service is more important. Only 12% prefer dealing with companies because they had a hot, sexy, innovative product. Another study from Michelson and Associates reported that 69% of customers leave one business for another because of real or perceived poor service. Only 13% leave due to the quality of a product. So I think that really the statistics say the quality is important, but without that service component, you really are missing the boat. A couple other statistics Oracle came up with quotes that 86% of customers will pay more for better customer service. In our industry, I'm sure each of you are in the same. There's always somebody that will do it cheaper. Well, the right customers, 86% would pay more for a service. And American Express did another survey that said 70% of Americans will spend an average of 13% more with companies that they believe provide an excellent customer service. So if we could also all figure out how to improve our bottom line by 13% by improving customer service, I think that would be a huge win. So a couple of people that I will quote here. Steve Jobs, you start with a customer experience and work back with the technology. Everybody gives Apple great for all of the phenomenal technological advances, but really the magic of Apple and Steve Jobs is understanding what the customers want in the customer experience. They don't want technology, they want something that the technology does for them. So I'm going to go through a bunch of information from experiences at Pacific Landscape Management, my company, and a lot of them are quotes, emails from customers, and I want to make sure you understand I'm not trying to brag, I'm trying to make examples. If I just stand up here and say, this is what I think you should do, I try to acknowledge how important and impactful that has been to our customers. So don't let me think I'm bragging here. I'm trying to make the point by customer comments and feedbacks. So here's just one comment that I pulled off a survey a few years back that I just thought really told the story of what a true great customer experience is in their quote of saying things, you are my landscape manager. It's nice not having to worry. You come to me with issues. I'm doing more. I don't have time. You are getting things taken care of, and you put my mind at ease. So those are the kind of phrases that we look for, that we try to encourage our customers to give us through the various services and strategies that we have. So we do customer surveys. We'll talk a little bit more at the later part of the survey or this presentation about surveys. But if you look on here, if you see the common responses we get on good response time, great communication, very responsive, rapid response, proactive. Oh, out of these 15, one says the appearance of property and landscaping. Most of the rest of the great feedback that we get when we're hitting the ball out of the park is all about service. They assume that we're going to do a good job with our landscaping, and they're really blown away by the service components of things that we do. So as I said, we are in the service business and underscore service. Landscape quality is worthless without good communication and customer service. I tease people to say, hey, this isn't rocket science, but I think it's relatively rare, not just in our industry, but in most service businesses in general. People call themselves in the service business, but they don't focus on service. So there's a few things that I think it's really important. And one of the things that drove me to wanting to be in landscaping is I love plants, but I also love serving people. And I am passionate about it, and the people that I try to attract into our organization are people that have a passion. They're not just looking for a paycheck, but they want to change the world in landscaping, change the world in landscaping service. A couple other quotes. There's no luck in business. There's only drive, determination, and more drive. I think we all need to work harder, and we need to care more than our competition. And when it comes to service, your drive really is what accentuates great service. And then you need to be committed to caring for customers. Passionate, progressive, proactive, these are all just kind of buzzwords, but you really need to have a culture of that within your organization. And then, in the end of the day, we need to act. We can talk all we want, but we need to take action. As things need to be accomplished, service is all about acting. So I put together, and we'll go through, my 11 rules for outstanding customer service, and we'll go through and have details of each of these, of the components of great service within our industry. The first one is communicate, communicate, communicate. We spend a lot of time talking about what we should do or could do, but I notice sometimes we spend a lot of times talking to ourselves as opposed to talking to our customers. We really need to be talking to our customers and telling them what we're going to do, what we have done, and what we should do. Some of the quotes that I get as I talk to people that want to get a bid from us is, I just am blown away at some of these comments. I can't get my current vendor to return my call. I am tired of having to call my vendor to tell them what to do. I don't want to have to manage my vendors. Vendors want us. They pay us money to take care of their problems. They have so many other things to do. They don't have to worry about their landscaping. And I'm just blown away that people aren't focusing on talking to their customers and leave customers with these kind of feelings. So, the important customer communication is the difference between poor service, mediocre service, and great service. I don't think you can blow somebody away by mowing their lawn or pruning their tree or landscaping their landscape that much better. You can do that through great communication, telling them what you're doing. Communication leading to higher service satisfaction. Stronger relationships are all based on communication. Customer retention is all based on communication, and selling additional sales usually is driven by good communication. So I have, some points of what I make. First of all, that is that one comment that I hear frequently: call customers back quickly. Now, I think a good company initiates most communication. So if you are just responding to requests from your customers, you're missing the boat. Most of our communication should start with us. We need to be very proactive and initiate that communication. If you know something about a property, call them immediately. You don't want customers to be surprised by things that happen. As soon as you see something, let them know what you see. Even if you don't have a solution, you want to let them know that you're seeing it. You want to tell them what your plan is. We spend a lot of time organizing and planning on what we're going to do great on their landscaping, but if we don't know what their plan is, they'll assume we don't have a plan. Tell them your plan. And then get feedback from your crew. We do a lot of that. It's great with the cell phones and pictures today. Have your crew send in pictures. You can send those to the customers. It's a great way to endear yourself to the customers. They can see. Most of our customers aren't at their properties every day, so if you can send them a picture, that's great. Tell them if something goes wrong before they find out on their own. As I said, you have to control the story. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But when customers find out that something goes wrong without you telling them that, they're going to be mad at you. If you tell them, you can control the story. You also should call them and be understanding in their business. If they have something that happens within their business or them personally, call them to congratulate them. Be their partner, not just on their landscaping, but in business in general. And get involved in trade associations. You greatly have a great opportunity to talk to people when they're in a social environment. So we'll talk about that a little bit more. Make sure that you have a newsletter. You need to have Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. You have to have lots of places where you're talking directly to your customers or directly to your prospect base. So even some simple little things, this is a minor deal. hey, Darcy, leaves are starting to fall. The crew did a great job today cleaning them up. I sent them a picture. This is a picture that a crew leader sent to their manager. The manager sent them to the customer. Just pedestrian little activities today. They didn't know we were picking up leaves or how good we did until we sent them that picture. Micah, that looks awesome. Thank you for taking such pride in your work. It's very much appreciated. We missed that opportunity if we didn't send that picture to that customer. And then here, we just had a horrific storm here, you know, a once-in-a-decade deal. We sent out to all of our customers as we went through the various days of what our plan was. Here's what our plan is, offering them, if you know you don't like what we're doing, give us more feedback. And then as our managers were out here, you know, 5:26 in the morning, took a picture of as we're proceeding through the snow removal, letting them know what happens. And then customers send back, they wake up in the morning, they already appreciate that we've been out there all night. We send them pictures, we give them details. The pictures were helpful. We understand the limitations your crews have. We appreciate your efforts. Of course, we're going to be patient. Thank you for being proactive. Our expectations are definitely low. And I was blown away when I got this email forwarded to me of all of those components of what we want our people to think and appreciate us on because we were proactive with that communication. You know, you need to have, I'm sure everybody has a website, but keeping it active and alert. We have a newsletter that we send out to our folks on a weekly basis. And one of the things that I really believe in a newsletter is you need to make sure that they can get as much as they can off the preview screen on Outlook, because most people read their preview screen and delete it. So if you have a newsletter, make sure that you're putting it in a way that people can get the message even if they don't read the whole thing. We post our past issues on our website to keep people constantly informed. We post things on our Facebook page as well. So all of those kind of places that we can interact with customers directly and indirectly. One of the things I said is you need to control the story. If you have a problem, tell them about the problem, and it's their problem. If they tell you about the problem, it's your problem. And it's really, really important that you can control the story. If you don't tell them about it, they assume you don't know about it or it's your fault. So, you know, a couple of examples. The irrigation coverage is poor and we are not able to keep your lawn green and healthy without some modifications to the system, and they will probably pay to fix it. Or if you wait for them to say, why are these brown spots in my lawn? Don't you know how to do your job? Do I need to find a new landscaper? Totally opposite of the impact of if you tell them, you control it. If they tell you, you're an idiot. You know, real small thing. Hey, there was a stuck valve that wasn't working. The lawn was drying out, so we repaired it. Thank you for performing the repair, but I appreciate the professionalism. Each of the people I met is very conscientious, and you have good customer service. And there again, I'm not trying to brag. It's just the comments that we get when we control the story. We let our people know when we're doing a good job. We're not bragging to our customers, but they don't know what you're doing. Oftentimes, they don't know what you're doing until you tell them that. So control the stories. Customers like vendors who take responsibility. You are in control if you tell them the story. Hiding a problem is like lying. We'll come back to that a little bit. That's really hard human nature to not admit problems. Usually most problems have a cost to resolve. If they approach us, we're probably going to be responsible for it, or they're going to be less likely to be willing to pay for it. If we let them know what the problem is, we can let them know there's a problem and here's the solution. By the way, it costs a little bit more. And as we work with our employees, they will make better choices if they're encouraged to admit their mistakes so they don't spend time trying to hide problems. We talked about pictures. We spend a lot of time sharing pictures with our customers, and it's been a huge advantage of the new technology out there. Picture tells a tale in words. Okay, so we take a picture here. You have an irrigation dry spot around a tree. We give them all this information. Hey, the rest of the lawn looks fine. We don't want to waste your irrigation, blah, blah, blah. And then we follow it up with, hey, we might consider looking at enlarging the tree area or adding some additional irrigation. So we tell them where their problem is, and we let them know that there's a possible solution. And guess what? Some of those possible solutions are going to create additional revenue opportunities for us. So the value pictures, most people are visual learners. If you tell them something in a long-winded email, they probably won't fully understand. If you take a picture and use less words, they're probably going to understand quickly. Clients don't have time to see their properties. Most commercial customers, at least, are in their office and don't always see their properties. Pictures validate things. You can say something and will they trust you, but if they see a picture, they will see that. Pictures last forever. If you have a way to keep these things, you can relay back to these pictures in future. And, you know, technology makes it so easy with the ability of crews to take a picture on their phone and text it or email it and really sharing pictures is really quicker and easier than drawing out a really long-winded email. Happy customers put up with occasional quality problems. Dissatisfied customers find every flaw. And we found that frequently, that if your customer is happy and informed, they're going to give you a break if there's a problem. If they don't have a good relationship with you and they've had dissatisfaction in the past, they're going to be looking to justify why you are not good. So, communication is very important. Some comments here. First of all, thank you very much for taking good care of our properties. We can't tell you the Pacific we can tell you the Pacific has the same pride in properties that we maintain. Don't know what I would tell you. Thanks for doing so much you do. All of these pieces of information that we communicate back and forth really endure ourselves to our relationships with our clients and help them give us a break if we have some problems. The building owner was very impressed. The tenants were excited for the upgrades, and most importantly, the project was implemented very smoothly. So we can take that happiness, and that will endear us to that customer, and they will be a long-standing customer. Like I said, happy customers are loyal. Happy customers tell their friends they're great advertisement. Happy customers give you room to recover. You're not going to be perfect. You can't expect to be perfect. You need to have a little bit of opportunity to recover. Happy customers give you that opportunity. And we find that the happier the customer is, the more they buy from us. They like to buy from people that they trust. They like to buy from people that they're happy with. Now here we talk about failure. Admitting failure builds customer loyalty. I think some of my company's strongest relationships are with customers that we had a significant failure in our ability to get done what we were supposed to do or what we had promised. But we took charge of those situations, and we actually improved our customer loyalty. I'm not going to say fail so you can recover, but boy, when you do fail, recovery can endear yourself to a customer greater than just being perfect all the time. Our job is hard. Most contractors' job is hard. If you never admit you make a mistake, you make it look like your job is easy. And we want customers to know that our job is hard, and we're great for being able to do a hard job. And when we admit mistakes, we prove that we're honest. Hiding a mistake is like being a liar. Admitting a mistake and taking ownership of it can endear yourself and have people trust you because you are trustworthy. Identifying mistakes helps create more innovative customer solutions. A lot of times, problems are because there is a flaw with the landscape, and we can uncover a flaw that we can correct and show that we're innovative in our solutions to problems. So, here's just a typical, our PHC manager brought to attention of our account managers that it looks like we might be having an outbreak of disease in our pansies. The manager immediately passes that on to the customers and lets them know what we've seen and what we're doing to deal with it. And the customer calls back and says, hey, I saw the pansies out there, and I understand why they don't look good. If they had not got that email ahead of time, they would have called and said, why? What are you not doing with our pansies? So really, really important to admit failure. It's very human. It's not human nature to admit failure. We always want to hide that, but you really need to teach yourself and teach your people that it's okay to fail. It's very important to be honest. The first time you lie about a story, your customer finds out that you distorted the truth, that they're not going to trust you from them forward. Very, very important that, as I said, some of our best customer relationships are those we have failed with, but we admitted it and we resolved the problem. And service recovery is some of your strongest customer relationship building activities. So every interaction matters, or only the paranoid survives. I love that quote. It was Andy Grove of CEO. Success breeds complacency. Complacency breeds failure. Only the paranoid survive. I honestly, when I get a call from a customer, even if it's a long-term customer, my first reaction is they're calling to complain. And that's not always the case, but I lead with being prepared to handle the fact that we maybe didn't do something right today. And I think it's very important that we always assume that, or don't always assume, but never assume that everything's fine. Never assume that a current customer that I've had for 10 years is going to be happy with me because of the last interaction. Happiness lasts about as far as your next failure. So you really need to be prepared and not assume that everything is fine. So, and always be focusing on positive interaction. First impressions last forever. Even second impressions last forever. That your interaction with a customer, I put on my customer face when the phone rings, when I go into a meeting with a customer, that I am there to create a positive interaction. Your personal image is very important. Your company image, your personal image. I think it's always important to let people know they are always being watched. Whether you are directly in interaction with somebody, you are indirectly interacting with everybody at the same time. People walk by you, they drive by you. It's really important to know that you are on stage at all times. People are probably talking about you currently. As customers get together, they share stories about you. So making sure that you're always focused on that positive interaction, they will talk positively about you. You also need to think about, and I catch myself every once in a while frustrated with a customer, and I will say something rather in and around. I go, no, employees listen. So if I don't say the right things about about a customer, I will give my employees the wrong impression about my caring of them. And we can't take customers for granted. That will always backfire. I always believe you can only have so many friends. We have constantly people that will leave one organization, and we'll always wish them well and try to follow them around, and a lot of times they end up somewhere else and we follow them. So it's very important that you have as many positive relationships out there with your vendors, with your customers, even with your competition. You can never have too many friends in the line of business. And one real small thing, positive interaction. I don't use my out-of-office assistant on Outlook anymore. We're plugged in 24/7. Now if I'm at the bottom of the Grand Canyon and can't answer my phone, I might put that out there. But even on vacation, and that's maybe a tough one to people say is be there, I would rather answer a quick question or be able to direct them or let them know that I am there available, even if I am out of the office, versus if I say I'm out of the office and they panic because they don't know how to get something taken care of. So that's an interesting piece that I work with our people on. Unless you are physically or technologically unavailable, please be near your phone and don't use your out-of-office assistant. Shorenstein, a large property owner here, hired us a few years ago, and some of the comments in here, they became familiar with our team structure and took time to fully understand how we preferred communication and quickly sought out our preferences and needs for improvements. Being proactive, recommending solutions, really focusing on making sure that we understand and communicate and ask lots of questions. A couple of comments in email. I just met with the owners of Vader Atlanta. I know your staff really strives to make not just these buildings but all of my other properties look good, and wanted to say to everybody for helping me make my job a little bit easier. So that positive reaction of making sure that we're serving our customers. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, I think it's really important to interact with people, not just about their particular property, but if you can find ways to interact with people on a semi-social basis. We are huge participators in all of the real estate organizations, the IREM events, the BOMA events, the NAIOP events. These are all commercial property manager and developer organizations. IFMA, Facility Managers, is a great organization. Community Association Institute for HOAs. Every real estate type has an association. You should be involved in those. You should go to their meetings, and it's a great opportunity to interact and work on building up that relationship. If you just call them on the phone or show up at their office or meet them on site, you're really going to need to be talking business there. But at these associations, you can get and learn and meet new people and also get them in a social situation where you can work on a relationship. We also do a lot of interaction with our customers. We've done an open house. The last 3 or 4 years, we've done a wine tour where we invite a bunch of ours. We had 2 bus loads of people that we loaded up and took out wine tasting, and just a great opportunity to, in a very social setting. I had a fabulous time. Thank you for inviting me and getting a chance to speak with your staff and meet new members of our team. It's always a pleasure to spend time with other property managers in the industry as well. So every opportunity you can to interact with your customers outside of specifically about their job really helps build those relationships. And we talked about that a little bit earlier too. You're always on camera. Crew professionalism and your managerial professionalism is very, very critical. Couple of comments we get, and I think it's really important to know. I'm sitting here at my desk watching your workers and wanted to send another email to let you know what a great job they do consistently. I think people forget that they're either on camera or outside a glass building with mirrored windows. Our people are constantly being watched by passers-by or people in their offices, and I think when you're out in the middle of a landscape, you forget that. And we constantly talk to our folks about make sure you're on your best behavior, make sure you're acting professional, because at any given point they are being watched. You know, speaking with the tenant at Ridgeview, and she mentioned how impressed she was with the landscaping crew. She mentioned that the landscaping crew always takes time to stop and greet them, and which has stood out to them. So being really focused on that, yes, we need to do great landscape work, but even our crew members need to be polite and professional. So crew professionalism, really focusing with your, teach your people that they need to be aware of other people in and around where they're working. Smile and acknowledging people is really basic. We need to park out of sight and not be obtrusive in how we park. We need to take breaks out of sight and not do that stuff where people can see us. We don't want to engage in horseplay or joking on a job site. People take stuff out of context. And you also need to assume somebody's listening to you at all times. Even though you're not talking to them, they're probably hearing you. And people always need to consider they are being watched. So we really focus on, and I'm sure most people do, is really focusing on visual professionalism. All of our employees are uniformed, all of our trucks are painted, and we really focus on being on camera and looking good. Visual professionalism goes a long way. If you look grubby, if you look unkept, if your trucks aren't washed and cleaned and well painted, you won't get the same positive impression in interaction with customers. Now, another quote is, the customer is not always right, but that really doesn't matter. Really important that as we're interacting with customers, we understand from their perspective. So a lot of times what we're wanting to tell them, they have to be in the right place and the right state of mind to make sure that we're talking about something that they're interested in. So really important that we want to make sure that we want the customer, they want to be right. So we need to allow them to be right when maybe they are wrong in our opinion. We don't want to try to win an argument with a customer because you lose when you win an argument. We don't want to correct customers that impacts your relationship. That if you prove them wrong because you are technically right, you will probably impact your relationship. So we need to help them understand our perspective. We need to own the problem, and we need to correct it. And in the end of the day, if you can't get to a right solution, you may need to determine, is it the right customer for me if I've tried everything and I still can't get this customer satisfied. I'm a huge advocate. I've read numerous books about customer interaction, and I think it's really important that we understand and make our decisions based on the thought process and the feedback of the customers. We self-regulate and we self-evaluate ourselves all the time, and we need to put ourselves in the boat of what would the customer think. I am very difficult to serve because I've been a customer service agent my whole life. My wife cringes when she sees that I'm about to go off when I'm getting served in a restaurant or a hotel or in a gas station or at a store. I was in my health club the other day, and they ran out of towels. And so I'm standing in the middle of the health club, and I don't have a towel to dry off on. This is a first world problem, I know. But the guy comes in a couple minutes later, and he puts the towels on the rack, and I say, hey, you guys need to have a better rotation so you don't run out of towels. And he goes, well, we're only washing them as fast as we can. And I looked at him and I said, hey, buddy, you could have started with I'm sorry. And he stepped back on his heels and said, hey, I'm sorry. And I think about that all the time we are very defensive, and we really need to make sure that we're always thinking about the customer's perception of what we do. Because whether we're right or wrong, if the customer doesn't perceive that they're being treated well or respected, we will lose. Now, if I was going to write a book, I would say I just want to be a hero. I really love to surprise or fulfill expectations that, sometimes people will come to me and say, I know you probably can't, and I don't care what the next thing that comes out of the mouth is. I'm going to do it because they just set me up to be a hero. And I think in the service business, finding opportunities to be heroic is great and really endears yourself to the customers. So here, is an email that I got from a president of an HOA. He says, your company had 2 gentlemen here today who stayed late. David and his partner, whose name I regret to say did not worked in the rain and cold until they were both soaked and shivering. Please let your whole team know what a great job they did while we pat ourselves on the back for choosing Pacific Landscape. And then I thought the best one, I just witnessed dedication to doing a great job I can't recall seeing the likes of.
and I'm 70 years old. And here's two of my guys dealing with an irrigation or a water leak problem, and they were out there wet and cold, and they did whatever it took to make sure that customer was happy. And that is just phenomenal, and that endears yourself, and that is really rewarding to do. So I sent to a customer, I'm so excited to finally be able to serve you at the streets of Tanasbourne, a commercial property that we did another property for them. And we picked that up because we did some heroic work on the other and some snow work. In addition to meeting your daily landscape needs, I look forward to every opportunity to provide heroic service as we did this winter at Mountain Park. Wow, absolutely wowed by your efforts, but this is certainly a big step above my expectations. So really, really focusing on not only looking for heroic opportunities, but sometimes touting your heroicness. So heroic service, as I define it, it involves personal sacrifice. You have to be willing to do something rather that the common person wouldn't do. And you have to look for ways. Sometimes heroic opportunities don't just present themselves. You have to find those opportunities. You need to find these ways to surprise customers. Perceiving their needs and acting on it before they ask is a great way to be heroic. We've had a couple of people with our significant snow event who had not signed up for it, but we actually went and served some people doing some snow plowing because we couldn't get a hold of them and we knew they would need it, and they were blown away the next day going, thank you for doing that for us. We will take risks at giving people what they need, especially if it's heroic, because we know that they will, for the most part, be happy the next day. I'm a big fan of occasionally giving them something for free or a greatly reduced price. If you can, you got to be really careful about that, but there is sometimes a token, hey, we just killed it on this job, surprising them by giving them a break on the job, even though they approved the full amount, giving them a token amount off really can endear yourself to people. They're really surprised by that. And as I said, sometimes you have to tell them how hard it was to complete the task. They may not know how heroic it was. Sending an email to a customer at 1 o'clock in the morning saying you're plowing snow, and then an update at 3 o'clock in the morning, when they wake up in the morning, they know you were up all night, and that helps them understand how heroic you were. If any of you were at the conference in Louisville, the CEO Forum, Mark Sanborn spoke, and I'd read that book previously, and it's one of my favorites. It's called The Fred Factor. It's about a postman that this Mark Sanborn met. He was his postman, and all the things that he did as a mailman that exceeded the expectations, and he's just a great case study story and a great simple book about how important it is to exceed customers' expectations. And then, the last piece I want to focus on, there's a couple more pieces on, is you really need to ask how you're doing. Don't self-manage, so don't self-assess yourself. You have to ask your customers about how you're doing. Interesting statistics. 80% of companies describe the service they provide as superior, statistics say, yet only 8% of customers agree with that rating. We oftentimes think more highly of ourselves than our average customer. So customer survey, if you don't do a survey, you absolutely have to. And some key components that I have, we've surveyed from the first year that we operated. First of all, you got to keep your survey short. I take surveys all the time, and when I get to page 4 or page 5, I get up and I close the survey. You need to take about a minute to get your customer's impression. I want to make sure that our customers know that our surveys take a very short period of time to do, and then they'll do them. And you want to make sure that they're measurable. Doing them statistically with numbers is really, really important, so you can take measurable results and compare those from one year to the next. And be careful to ask very specific and one question per item. Don't confuse things that are multi-part questions. And you also need to make sure you're getting it in front of the right people. If you take care of homeowner associations, do you want to survey the property manager, or do you want to serve the board chairman? Do you want to serve the landscape committee chair? Really important you're getting the feedback from the decision maker. And you want to spell out expectations of your invite and make sure that you are letting them know how it takes, how much time it takes, and what you expect of them. We're a huge fan of rewarding people, and I'll come back to that a little bit. Give them a bribe to fill out the survey, and more will fill it out. And then I'm a huge advocate. I think we survey all of our customers. We got back 200 survey responses this year, and I wrote a personal note to each one of those responders and acknowledged something within their survey that proved to them that I read it. We have our managers call them back, and I give them a personal note to really thank them and acknowledge we are listening when you talk. I've filled out surveys before, and say an airline, and you had a bad experience, and you give them all zeros, and I never hear back. And I'm always interested. People want my surveys, but they don't want to acknowledge me personally. So I've really focused on, we want to make sure that everybody knows that we read it personally. And I think it's important to track results, see trends, and use the survey data to help you hone your service and quality related focus. And you need to make sure you share it with everybody that touches a project. It's not just a managerial issue. All of the crews need to understand what our customers are saying about us and about the properties that we take care of. So, here's an old style survey before we went electronic. It asks 12, 13 questions. Very simple, easy to fill out. We send people and let them know ahead of time, we're going to give you a Starbucks card if you fill that out. We used to get 15, 20% of our surveys returned. We started giving them a Starbucks card, and we get 50% of our surveys back for $5 each. Really cheap investment. And then something else that we started doing is, in the past we always said, hey, overall, how happy are you with us? And then I was exposed to the Net Promoter Score. It's a great book you should read, The Ultimate Question, a great study that's been done over the last couple of decades about, they call it the ultimate question. This is the most important question you would ask any customer of any service-related business. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely would you recommend our company to a friend or colleague? On a scale of 1 to 10, if you are a 9 or a 10, you are a promoter. That means that's somebody that loves you, that's going to say good things about you. If you are a 6 or below, they're a detractor. They're probably going to fire you or quit at some point. And the whole goal of the score is you take the promoters. So if you have 50% are promoters and 20% are detractors and another 30% are these passive in the middles, you take the promoters less the detractors, and that gives you your Net Promoter Score. And the goal is to have that percentage as high as possible. So if you read that book, you get a lot of statistics, but some of the statistics say promoters are way less likely to leave you. Their attrition rate is significantly less. Promoters will always buy more, and promoters will refer you to more customers. Another couple of focuses, detractors, usually it's not about what happened, but how you responded. So here's one talking about a delay and a cancellation. The delay itself caused 22% of folks to be a detractor, or how the company handled it caused 70% of people to be a detractor. So if you have a delay, but you deal with that delay positively, you can reduce the impact. The greatest impact on a delay was how the company handled it. Same thing on a cancellation. This was in airlines, I believe, that 43% were disappointed by the cancellation, but 87% were frustrated by how the company handled that cancellation. So it's really important that you understand those things. We work in one of Bruce Wilson's peer groups, and he's put together a survey, and that's something that's been great, that we're not only just getting our survey results, but now we're seeing how other companies similar to us are being surveyed. So we basic questions about quality work, basic questions about service management, and then we ask that ultimate question there on the bottom. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you recommend Pacific Landscape Management? I think an interesting thing to take a look at is we tabulate all these results, and of our folks that give us that 10, if you look on there, the dark green, that means the highest rating we can get, very satisfied, or in the quality ratings, acceptable, meets expectation, or unacceptable. If you can see that we get more consistently the highest rating in service on some properties where we're getting middle-of-the-road quality ratings, but they're giving us a 10. So it's more important to get a 10 to get that highest raving fan score. It's really about the service qualities. You can't have negative quality ratings, but it's not as important to have blowing them out of the park on quality. You need to have blow them out of the park on service. And then on the bottom of the scale, those people that gave us the mediocre or the detractors, they're probably, most of them are average on their quality ratings, but insufficient in their service ratings. So we get more positive ratings on the service side for overall satisfaction and more negative ratings on the service side for native satisfaction. So driving home again, the quality is less important in overall satisfaction as the service. And then I think the last piece to drive this home is customer service is not a department, it's your company culture. And I'm kind of surprised, and I wouldn't pick on the person, I don't know who he was, but when I had questions at the end of the presentation in Louisville, one person raised their hand and said, hey, we're considering hiring a customer service person or creating a customer service department or company to improve our customer service. And I said, that's exactly the wrong thing to do. If customer service is the role of one person or one department, it's not going to exude through the whole organization. It has to be a culture. Really, really important. You need to be clear and concise with what you expect out of your people. Good service has specific ways to get there. Leadership must set the example. You have to, as the owner and as the key leadership and the managers in the company, you have to live that culture of service. And then you need to select people who are right fit. We select those people, and we know those people that are going to be right, and we, as we're looking for people that are going to live that service culture. And we're working on defining what is service, outstanding service be, what are the behaviors that relate to that, so we can train those people on how to do those behaviors. And we always, when we're talking to our people, we're talking about, we relate things back to great service. We talk about our culture, and hey, this is an example of heroic service. This is an example of teamwork. And we need to make that visible throughout the company. We developed 5 service-related culture pieces. We talked about being heroic, enduring client relationships, employee development, continuing innovation. We always relate back to our people as we're telling good stories about good company customer interaction. We relate those back to those core values. I've sat through some training with high performance cultures. David Friedman, he's written a couple of books about, and he has an organization that trains on culture. Really, really great tools that if you want to be a great company, you need to understand what the culture means. And for us, customer service is a key piece of our culture, and we've done a lot of work on trying to make sure that we understand and define that culture so we can do that on a day-to-day basis. You know, we talk about your ultimate success may depend on service, but it's also important not to suck at the landscape part. So in talking about the operations people, it's really important that we are proud of the quality of the work that we do. We're a huge fan of the Award of Excellence programs at National Association of Landscape Professionals. We celebrate that with our employees and our customers, but we don't just focus on the quality work itself. A lot of, I've talked about the Fred factor, hey, I'm the customer, the ultimate question, really be a study of. We've done book readings within our organization, and I'll read a good book and then I'll buy it for the rest of our organization. We'll talk about these subjects in meetings. Really, really important that you need to be a forever learner of and motivator of great service, and there's a lot of great resources out there and stories. With that, I believe that is the conclusion of our program, and we'd like to open things up for questions if people have them.
Thank you, Bob. At this time, we do not have any questions.
Okay. Well, with that, if nobody has any questions, I am really excited to have been able to deliver this again, and hope that I gave you some tools or motivation to improve the level of service, and I wish you the best in 2017. It's going to be another great year. The economy is great, and with great service, you can achieve anything.
Okay, we did just get a few in. What do you have in place for this training with your staff?
Well, we do a couple of things. One of the biggest pieces is we have 3 branch offices in Portland, and we have a weekly training program that we do one morning to start off each week. And my business partner, who is operations, and myself go out. He goes through and does a training topic on usually production-related issues. But we always start off the program telling good stories, good news stories from our customers. And that's one of the pieces that we constantly focus on, is when a customer gives us great feedback, we always relate it back to what we have done in terms of our culture and what we've done in terms of our procedure of how we created an opportunity for a customer to give us good feedback. So one of those pieces is we do talk about it weekly with all of our crews. In our branch staff meetings and with our monthly manager meetings, we will work on developing topics and also talk about seasonal related, service related issues, but it is part of every meeting. We will be talking about customer service and not just about production related. And then we have outside training. We go to conferences, and our peer group, that's one of the big focuses of our peer groups. Interaction training is how we're all working in and around providing great service and sharing those ideas with each other. So it is a big part of all conversation and all meetings that we have, and focused in our commitment to helping provide those resources to all levels of employees.
Okay, thank you, Bob, for this great webinar. In order to improve our future webinars, please take a few moments to fill out our evaluation, which will appear on your screen at the end of this call. We appreciate your feedback. I would like to thank everyone for participating in today's webinar, and I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. But really quickly, we did get some more questions. We are rolling out Aspire now and trying to also tackle the marketing plan and have that area more organized too. Copy of first. Oh, I don't think that was a question. I'm sorry. But thank you, Bob, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. Bye.